you try to leave, it's going to just crush my confidence because I can see people walking in and out. So I'm going to spot you and tell you to sit back down. Second of all, I know there's an entrepreneurial, like, won awards or whatever. I'm not really a big speech guy, so I mean, Sarah came up, had a bigger speech than I did, written down. So they want me basically, I mean, this is kind of Q&A, this is what I expect this to be, but I'll give everybody the background if you don't know it, like what Barstool is, where it came from, and then who knows, just open the floor and kind of let you guys go. I studied The Office, Michael Scott, kind of his speeches, like, maybe have to fly higher than your dreams and all that good stuff. So, anyways, without going into too much detail, Barstool, I guess is what you guys want. Barstool started 6 years ago, I think it was. It was a newspaper. Basically hated my job. I'm 33, so how old was I? About 25. I did sales, hated it, wanted to find something I liked to do. At the time, I liked gambling. That was kind of my thing. So I flew out to Las Vegas, met with casinos. It's like, how do you get involved in this? It turned out you had to be a dealer for like 3 years. Came back and said, but if you start a newspaper that basically caters towards people who like to gamble, you may be able to get some advertising. So that was it. I was a degenerate kind of in college with it. Figured, all right, I'll give it a shot. So it started 4-page, black and white, all fantasy sports, all hardcore gambling, had nothing to do with girls, had nothing to do with anything that we do now. In fact, the website didn't come out for 3 years, basically, until the newspaper was around. So that's how it started. And I really had no idea what I was doing, just jumped into it. And, people always ask me, believe it or not, I actually did one of these things at Harvard, but not that, they're smarter than you or nothing, but we did one at Harvard. There was like 30 kids there, and their one question for me was, if you do want to start your own business, what would you say? And really, the best piece of advice for that was just do it. Like, I had a bunch of buddies, we sat around, literally every day, be like, hate our jobs, let's do this, let's do that. And finally, I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to quit my job, I'm going to start something. I saved up for a little bit, and that's how it started, the newspaper. The newspaper was an interesting ride. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing, like I said. I had a sales background. I did cold calling every day when I graduated college, so I was used to being on the phone, trying to sell ads. So we had ads set up for a year. Basically, a year before the newspaper started, so if everyone hated it and it went out of business, I had at least a year to perfect it. Maybe towards the end of the first year, we put an article that was, we're in the wrong time, so I'll just say girls I liked. And we put Jessica Biel on the cover, just kind of stole a picture from the internet. Without fail, everyone goes, hey, Jessica Biel, we like Jessica Biel. Put more pictures of Jessica Biel. So that's kind of when it started transforming a little bit. It's like, hey, guys like girls. We'll start mixing in girls, mixing in weird stories. Maybe year 2. We're fledgling, by the way. Like, literally, week to week, I didn't know whether we'd have to stop it, have enough money to do it. Year 2, a kid contacted me and goes, hey, I love the paper. I moved to New York, and I hate the fact I can't read it online. If I build you a website, will you start putting stuff on it? Sure, do it. Knock yourself out. So he built the original Barstool Sports version 1, however you want to put it. And I looked at it like, hey, I can, something happens during the day, I can put it up there. Slowly started blogging. I don't know how many people are familiar. Obviously you are with blogs and different ones out there. I think at the time, Deadspin, which is the biggest really sports blog, that was the only one out there. They were one, we were the second one kind of do it. Again, really no idea what we were doing. It's just like, oh, I can type in, someone screwed me today at lunch. I'm going to go write it online. Right away, that became kind of obvious that was the way to go. You didn't have the printing bill with the newspaper. Things started happening different. I guess the next milestone I'd have to put is when a photographer come out of the blue. He's like, have you ever thought of putting a local girl on your cover instead of stealing pictures of Jessica Biel? It's like, yeah, not a bad idea. Let's try it. So he came over in my living room, and he shot a picture, and it ended up being the best friend of my wife now. So that was kind of weird. I mean, basically, back in the day, we used to hand out the newspapers outside subway stations. So we called like a modeling agency or girls, a group that had girls. Hired a bunch of them. This is before I was too old, so I was mid-25. This is when we started getting the girls. It was like the perfect thing. gave me a reason to talk to girls. It was like, oh, hey, I'm doing this, you know, we need girls, blah, blah, blah. We hired a bunch of them, all advise you every time we had interaction with anybody. So you have to call them, see what they're doing tonight, let's go out. So that was good. That's actually how I met the first lady who, if you're really old school Barstool, you've probably seen her because she was on the newspaper, but now, well, you know, she'd rather die than have anything to do with it. So we did the photo shoot in her apartment, and then from that point on, there was always a local girl on the cover. Boston girls, bartenders, whatever it may be, continued to slowly morph from newspaper to the actual website, and then the website just took a life of its own. We talked about whatever we wanted to talk about. The smoke show of the day, I think, is what transformed us from a young professional crowd to a college crowd. You guys probably know better than me. But basically, we put a girl from Bryant, suddenly it rockets around Facebook, hey, look who's on Barstool, and all of a sudden college kids were reading us. We always had the young professional, because that's how it started. Barstool was geared towards, you know, once we did the web, people who hated their job, working in the queue, get them through the day. Didn't have anything to do with college kids at all. Smokes of the day kind of changed that. And then as we continued to grow, it got pretty weird actually, because I'd start going outside, and people would be like, hey, Prez, what's going on? Can I get your picture? Stuff like that, which was, you know, I'd look around and go, what is going on? How are these people even know who we are? Start putting my face all over the place, more and more people coming up. And I guess that's how we are now. It's the business side of it. It's like, we know we have everybody reading. We know we have New England kind of on lockdown. How do we really start doing weird stuff and make money off of it? School Palooza last year, which hopefully a lot of you guys went to. Back to school this year, which is obviously kind of why we're doing this whole promo thing. It's just whatever. I mean, we're going to Barstool, Cancun, which is, I mean, I'm 33, I didn't even go on, I went on spring break, not like that, in college, so. Yeah, it's kind of creepy, kind of fun. I mean, I don't know what it's like. I told her the other day, I wrote this on the blog. I think she thinks I'm kidding still. Like I said, I'm like, hey, I'm going to Cancun for 2 weeks in spring break. All right, you know, whatever. And that's it. And you know, the core, there's two parts of it. It's obviously, it's a business. Like we have, that's the sales guy over there doing his job, like how he does it. And, you know, so it's definitely we're in it to make money, and then it's to keep it real. Like, we really write from our heart. And I think that's why people like it. But again, I never know. I never intended to be a writer on the website when it started. It was more, let's sell ads, let's get other people doing it. I've obviously become more incorporated. And here we are, giving a speech in there. What do you think? Or a ton. So I don't even know necessarily how we got from people always, oh, you're being honest, you got lucky in a lot of ways. We did get lucky. With anything you do, you have to get lucky. The business model, I always try to tie it back in because I know there's the entrepreneurial spin on it. I think most people have figured out what we want to do, and we want to bring what we brought to Boston/New England all over the country. Really, we want to do Barstool, New York, Barstool, Boston, Barstool, Philly. We've had a really hard time finding writers, but it could be one of you guys who beats me to it. I know the business model is solid. Like, there's obviously demand for what we do. Just keep stuff local, keep it kind of real, keep it what people are talking about. We've had a hard time finding the writers we like in other cities, but there's no doubt there's a market. I mean, somebody asked me about ESPN Boston. There's nothing ESPN Boston can do in Boston that we can't do better, because we're plugged in with everybody in it, whether it be college kids, whether it be young professionals, whether it be the bars. We're out in the street, we're all over the place, and we're real. And that's something, you know, ESPN Boston can't beat. They still have the ESPN national vibe. We never want to have that. That's why I'll never write on New York. I'll never do anything beyond Boston, because I'm a Boston guy, and that's kind of, you know, what it is. So, I don't know how that kind of ties it together. I'm not going to lie, it's my first speech like this, so hopefully it was an A+. I guess if there's questions, that's the plan, right? Questions, throw it up. I don't know if you have to scream or bring in the mic or how this works exactly. Just scream it out, raise your hand, and